What is the difference between retention and transfer? Well, it's relatively straightforward. Imagine that you're practicing something. You're studying for this course, or you're learning to hit a tennis ball correctly. How do we know if you've learned? The first thing we can try to do is have a retention test. So what we do is you have practiced something, and then we give you a test to see if you know or can perform the skill or the knowledge. And it's really that straightforward. Your midterm exams are a form of retention test. Your game situation in a sport, or even just playing again, is a form of a retention test. Transfer is a little bit different. A transfer test involves performing a skill that you have learned or using knowledge that you have acquired, but in a novel situation or where the parameters are different. You hear this a lot, and I'll give you an example, which has been in the news a bit. Think of Lumosity. If you've never played Lumosity, it's a series of games that you're supposed to make you better at memory or paying attention or any number of things. And the hope is if you play their memory game, that just makes you better at memory in general. So does the practice that you have done in the Lumosity game transfer to a real world situation where you need to remember something? And the answer is no, as it turns out. In terms of sports, in a perfect world, you would practice every skill in every conceivable situation, but that's very difficult to do. So frequently in sports, you have to ask, does the practice skill transfer to a game situation? A classic example, the football tire drill. So if you've ever seen a sports movie, you get people running through tires. Here's the problem. Do you ever actually do that on a sports field? And the answer is no. So you're learning a skill that has no real transfer to the game situation. One way to think of this is if you learn something, you can measure accuracy. So imagine you have a very simple graph, and on the x-axis, we'll have practice time, and on the y-axis, we'll just have skill, to keep it simple. And what you hope is that over time, your skill improves. Now, if you take a break from practice and you are tested, you would hope that you would retain that. So a retention test would show a score that is similar to the end of practice over here, and you say that you have learned. And if you do a transfer test, it's to a unique situation, and you would imagine that again, your score is similar to practice. That is the difference between retention and transfer.